All right, episode 233. Today we're going to be talking about the NAR Shakeup, Princeton, Texas growth pause.
The amount of times we said NAR Shakeup on this show in the past 2 years is just unbelievable.
But it's a different Shakeup of NAR.
It is different.
And the mortgage rate roller coaster, and maybe we'll talk about Brian's 6-month workout plan.
Yeah, we'll start with that.
All right, let's get started. ChatGPT.
That's all to do.
Well, you just need to record it and then make it accountability for video.
That's going to be my new brand.
Yes.
What should my fitness name be?
The same as everything else. Brian the Force.
Yeah.
Brian the Force.
Oh, yeah, I guess that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Jeez, that wasn't hard at all.
Solving problems.
All right. Welcome back. Episode 233. We've been taking some breaks here because we're out selling houses and doing things. But look, today's show, if this is your first time joining us, welcome. And you need to support our sponsors. And those sponsors are Mortgage Mike. If you're needing to get that Mortgage Mike stamp of approval, I'm trying to send him a buyer right now. Mortgage Mike's under the weather, so he's like taking a little 20-minute napper. But he'll wake up here when you're listening to this. Just go to Mortgage Mike, just mmgloans.com. Tell him that the guys from the Only Real Estate Podcast worth listening to sent you over there. And then when you're done with that, you need to get a home warranty. Everyone needs one, right? And so Theron Smith over at Armadillo Home Warranty giving you that hard shell protection on everyone's houses. Just go to armadillo.one/TOR, T-O-R-E. And then property management. You know, that's the most thankless job out there. Everyone hates it. It's talking to a guy.
Harder than coal mining.
Talking to a guy, business partner of ours, manages his own 13 houses. And he's like, I tried to give it to a management company and they didn't do a great job. And I'm like, well, you didn't give it to Dana Wynn over at Homeward Property Management. So to homewarddfw.com.
That was your mistake.
Yep. That was a mistake. Chase, I'm going to call you out by name.
Get him.
So just go to homewarddfw.com and see what Dana's got cooking over there for all your property management needs in Dallas-Fort Worth.
I've been neck deep in the tenant side of that for the past couple of weeks, like calling people trying to drum up showings. And that is an odd thing. Like, you wanted to see this property and now you hate me. Like, what just happened? I'm just calling to facilitate a showing for you.
Well, this actually, let me tell a little story on this. I called Kelderman. I called Force and Dana. You know, I'm showing one of my own properties out in Pilot Point,
which is not close.
40-minute drive. And I confirmed this tenant, this potential renter to show up. He actually confirmed with me that morning. He's like, hey, we still on for this? I said, yes, great. So I drive out there, take Aspen, my 2.5-year-old. And we get there, and 9:30 rolls around, no one's there, right? So before I call or text, I wait for 15 minutes. 9:45 shows up, and I then go back in Facebook Marketplace Messenger where I was talking to him, and I'm not able to message him anymore, which was weird. So then I get his number, and I start calling him. He doesn't answer. 10:15, he finally answers. Yeah, I'm in the area, but my wife had to do something. I was like, cool, when are you going to be here? He's like, I think I might be there in the next 15 minutes. I was like, well, I think, and I said some other words, but this ain't the house for you. So that's why you need Dana.
I like that Nick breaks every once in a while because it makes me feel better because he's one of the most stoic people ever. And I pop off at that kind of stuff on a dime. So when Nick does every once in a while, I'm like, okay, cool. It's justified sometimes.
Yeah. Look, I don't like to waste time. So don't waste your time. Get with Dana Wynn, homewarddfw.com. And then you need a podcast just like this. Tour Studios, maybe the website's up, tourstudios.com. Maybe it's not. But you just need to watch.
We'll get there.
Yeah, you just need to get with Jesse. He's not good at websites, but he's great at podcasts and video.
Don't ask him to build
So
a website.
tourstudios.com, just take a look at that. So, NAR Shakeup.
I'm rocking and rolling over here, dude. We are. So one, I'm going to get fat for a bit because I need to eat 500 extra calories a day. I need a surplus of 500 calories so I can really bulk up, and then we're going to cut.
But we got to say what your goal is first.
Oh, I don't. My goal is just kind of continue to look like this. So, so maybe this is a weird exercise. I told it that I just wanted to reduce, some body fat by a few percentage and build, a little more muscle, and that's having me bulk up first.
Well, yeah,
and then we're gonna cut.
What you can't do, you can't cut and bulk up at the same time. That's good. That's counterintuitive.
Yeah, there's a lot of science that says you can't really do that.
Yeah.
I'm always bulking.
Look, winter's coming. I'm going to be real.
Right.
Yeah.
The winter body never left, so I'm already prepared.
Right.
But Brian D. Force over here is talking about his ChatGPT. He's really fallen in love with it.
I've been sitting here for like 8 minutes talking to it, and it has like a 6-month program for me all dialed in. And for somebody who's taken his fitness very seriously for a long time, I do way better when I have a checklist of everything that I'm doing. I don't like to go to the gym and wander around.
This is why I love ChatGPT so much, and this isn't really in our topics, but I think this is super relevant for real estate agents, because that's how I was going to pivot it, is because you and I's conversation around like kind of the NLP type, the neuro-linguistic programming and sales conversation. Like, I've just been asking ChatGPT to educate me on things. Like, I literally told the other day, I said, I don't understand neuro-linguistic programming and that type of speech. Explain it to me like I'm in elementary school. And then I just started building it from there. Did the same thing with some other stuff I don't understand. I put my wife and I's birth signs in the other day and said, how can I be a better husband to somebody with his birth sign, right? Like, but like all these cool things. And I think as real estate agents, sometimes we find ourselves doing jobs we shouldn't be doing, when at the same time,
Can we add to the show topics?
Yeah.
Breaking news.
What just came out?
What is that one?
Josh Team accused of taking millions in illegal kickbacks.
At his current or previous employer?
This is saying it paid $10 million in kickbacks to the Serhant company president while he was still at Keller Williams.
So for those of you who don't know, Josh Team was a big part of the Keller Williams Command program. If you're a part of Keller Williams or a part of EXP,
Wasn't he CEO of KW?
A lot of
He
people
was.
left Keller
Oh,
Williams
yeah,
during
ops.
that time and went somewhere else.
Yeah, he was.
And then he
CEO
went over to
for a bit.
Serhant for a little bit, but that just rolled out, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that. But we're going to talk about the NAR Shakeup. The chief. I'm going to actually say it the way I just said, which
Chief
is
legal analyst.
yes. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Legal officer.
Yeah.
Chief
It
legal
wasn't,
officer.
It wasn't how we wanted to say
officer.
it.
How do you? And we could dive deep on that, but like, how do you get 4 or 5 months past a lawsuit where you get your ass handed to you and then get to leave your job voluntarily? It's like, how does that happen?
That is. There's so much to dive into here. Man, this is going to be a long one.
Yeah. No, we can't do a Joe Rogan
Okay.
style today because I got coach
Like-
Got
baseball.
stuff to do.
I got to coach
It's
baseball.
like Tommy's Inman subscription expired.
Yeah.
There's a little
No.
Easter egg for you there if you're watching.
Yeah, but there's a couple of
Okay.
things like if we look at the chief, the legal chief guy, the main guy, analyst is
Her name's
gone.
Katie. Her name's
Her
Katie
name
Johnson.
is Katie Johnson.
So it's a female. So yeah, her name. Got it.
It's going swimmingly.
Well, I was more interested in the ChatGPT thing.
We were. We
Yeah.
pivoted hard left
Yeah.
on you. Sorry about that.
And to go back to ChatGPT is like you should learn anything from there.
Yes.
Brian and I listen. You should listen to this, Matt. It's called the All In Podcast,
Mhm.
It's a great one.
and
Mhm.
it's based on it's a lot of tech founders. So the first one into PayPal, David Sachs, and then you've got one of the early guys in at Facebook, and then you've got 2 other startups. I don't remember what they were in. But they're all kind of venture capitalists and in
Yeah.
the software technology side piece, and they're all in on AI. And what they've been talking about is saying that nobody at any of these guys' companies, if someone comes and asks them a question that they believe that could have been on Google, he's like, you need to ask AI first. Don't
Yeah.
come to me with anything that could have been Googled or asked on AI. You're asking how to learn something. It's all here.
Yep.
Yes.
So, any agent, so even when Matt was coming to me, he's like, hey, I'm building out this Expire program. I'm wanting to improve my sales skills. And I'm like, I can do that, but why don't you just go to ChatGPT?
Yeah.
Let's train it
Yes.
and have it a conversation so that it becomes a natural part of who you are. And it will help you learn at your
Yeah.
learning style.
How do you think that will affect just like the real estate coaching industry in the future?
It should improve it. You know what I mean? Let me put it this way. It should improve the topics and the way that you present them to other agents, right? Because
Yeah.
I feel like I do this for my agent masterminds. I'll think of a topic and then I'll go in and tell ChatGPT to fill in all the holes I can't see,
Sure.
right? Because that's one of the things. Like, I got an idea, I don't really have the ideas that need to come under the big idea, right? And ChatGPT fills in those holes really well, which I think is where a lot of coaching fails, is you just run out of shit to tell people and keep them engaged with.
What is the point of coaching? Is it to learn something, or is it to help you self-discover? Is it to help hold you accountable to what you're wanting to achieve?
Doesn't that change for each person?
No, because coaching is different than
Training.
mentorship.
Sure.
Right. And training.
Okay.
And so training, like what you're doing, training is you're showing them and telling them what they should be doing. Coaching is you're allowing them to self-discover in their own space. You might be asking some engaging questions, but you're not there to help them find the answer. Their job is to find the answer based on the problems that they're looking at solving.
Yeah, I've been messing that part up.
And so, I believe that the right coaching companies, as they adopt this, I think it helps them because it's the same reason I pay for a trainer, right? Sure. I could go build this out, but what does my trainer hold? What does Alan do? He texts me when I don't, when he's like, dude, you're canceling on me again because you said you have this. Let's find another time. It's more of that accountability part.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, I totally get that. We're happening to talk about ChatGPT in the sense of knowledge transfer right now and learning. I fully think it'll be capable of doing everything you just said as well in the future, though, right? Like your AI will be able to not only ask you the right questions to help you self-discover, it'll be able to hold you accountable. It'll do it digitally, right? By text or whatever the mechanism is, but your trainer texts you too.
Yeah, but he's a person versus I can control the AI. Like I don't feel as
yeah, like you can be like, hey AI, stop being so mean.
Let me ask you this: if we had lunch set up,
right,
and I hadn't seen you, like I feel more obligated to come to lunch with you versus like lunch with my AI. Like I can be like, oh, I don't feel as bad pushing you off when I should have been there at 12.
Right.
Right. It's that human interaction.
There's a built-in layer of accountability when you know there's a human being on the other side
that actually drove to that spot. Versus like online coaching programs or any of that stuff. Like you don't, you're not tied to it. So, Jesse, I think we need to change the topic of this show because, we can go back and post edit this because
most people don't do live podcasts.
It's true.
Well, I think that at the same time, I do believe that this shows. One, in the real estate world, it's let's be real, it's tough out there right now. People are struggling, right? I mean, I just on our team meeting on Tuesday, we were talking about real estate transactions or the turnover rate is at an all-time low since 1994. The last time we've seen this type of turnover rate in real estate is 1994.
94, interesting.
Yes, that was on Housing Wire.
Okay.
And
so 30 years.
Yes. Is that 30 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we haven't seen it. We haven't seen this amount of, or this type of transactional volume since 1994. And so it's a tough market out there. People, I would say that we're seeing more in a desperation freak out mode. They don't know what to do.
Yeah.
The ones that are doing well, I think there's I think they're building up a false sense of security because you need to find the stable pillars of your business.
Sure.
I do believe that we also have to be hyper aware of the type of service we're providing to our clientele to ensure that we don't lose them some type of technology-based system out there.
I think that's one of the biggest things right now that's different over the past 4 years, right? Like not kind of going before COVID is a little difficult. A lot of people weren't in the industry, and a lot of people recognize what this is. You were able to get away with providing a faster, maybe not as buttoned up experience.
Yeah.
In talking to people on a daily basis, whether it's just, buyer leads who are putting it off right now or sellers who are expired or whatever, like a lot of people right now just believe that it's not a great time to sell. And maybe it isn't or is for some, but that's the conversation that I've tried finding some mastery around, is just being able to identify whether or not this market is right for them and how I can help them. And I've used AI to do that a ton. I was telling Nick the other day when we were having that conversation, I went on and kind of had ChatGPT ask me 10 questions about myself and my business, and then had to ask 10 more questions about how I've done business in the past and then what my goals are in the future. It was a beat. It took me like an hour and a half to answer all of the questions.
Yeah.
But then I was able to go in and say, hey, ChatGPT, I call expireds every day. I want to have a follow-up text message to send them that incorporates neurolinguistic speak,
Yeah.
along with a call to action, because I don't write really good copy.
Right.
And I said, and give me 4 different examples, and it spit out 4, right? It's a simple text message. Everybody knows they can use it for that, but it started opening my brain up to the conversation. Said, hey, write some NLP style objection handlers.
Right.
Have it, I need to ask better questions. So it spit out a bunch of questions that now I have printed out in front of me that I'm trying. And it's just helping me learn how to be better and a broader human being, which I don't see how that ever backfires on you.
No, that doesn't. It's an interesting point though, what you're saying about what you're using ChatGPT or let's just, get rid of ChatGPT because that's just one AI, right? Like what you're using AI for. This is a very interesting conversation around what does the industry look like 5 years from now? Like what is the unique value proposition, not of a real estate agent, but of a human being? Right? Like what is it that a human being specifically can do in a real estate transaction that an AI can't eventually do? And then all you have to do is figure out the physical mechanism, showing houses and things like that, which I will tell you my personal belief. One, I think the AI enhanced agent is the agent of the future. But I will also say some of the arguments I believe are very silly around the necessity of human beings in the real estate transaction, just in the sense of like people are never going to be comfortable just having a box on the door and letting strangers walk through. Like, yes, they absolutely are. We do it in property management all the time. There's a super high level of accountability to it. You have to verify a whole lot of information before you set foot in the house. It's incredibly well regulated. It's incredibly safe. And by the way, the agent that's showing your buyers is a stranger to you as well. So that's just
There's
another
a stranger to have a background check. That's all.
Right. Yeah. Literally, the only thing that makes people comfortable with an agent showing is that they're licensed, which means there's some level of verification. Well, we do that already in property management. We verify everyone's info before they ever set foot in one of our rental properties. Then we have accountability around that, and there are consequences, right? We know who you are, where we know when you came, when you went, who you are. You got all your information, all that type of stuff. So like, that's not a barrier. I guarantee you that's not a barrier. So what is it? Is it repair? There's been a lot of examples like repair negotiations and things like that. And then at the same time, we're asking AI to help us with things like repair negotiations and things like that. So it's like, there's got to be some event horizon where actually through proxy or by proxy, AI is actually already doing more of the negotiations because we're just asking it. You know what I mean? Like I already know tons of agents that ask AI to help them write emails to send to another agent about a deal. And I'm like, you're just now you're the tool.
Yeah.
AI is actually, AI is already having the conversation. You're just the delivery mechanism. Yeah. And so how do we look 5 years from now? That's a really interesting thought. I know it's not on our topics for today, but I'm just getting more and more comfortable with the idea that a lot of this could be done with less of our input.
I did. And when you ask about like what part of the transaction could an AI do, I don't know if I can answer that question really well, just because through playing with it.
Yeah. We felt like we could answer that question a year and a half ago.
Yeah. I felt like I did. And I don't know what an agent can do specifically as far as being an agent, but like, I do think we had this lull, right? We used to have encyclopedias. You had to go, if you wanted to learn something, you had to go physically read about it by its letter, right? And then we had access to all of the information and we got dumber, right? Because we got lazier by not wanting to ask any questions.
We retained less of it.
Yes. And now you have this great in-between of this somewhat human interactive thing, because like I said, my AI, I told it, I said, look, I struggle with, I need to be encouraged all the time. So now when I finish my workout, it boosts me up every time. Like it is much more humanoid in its interaction than Googling something, right? So now you have this sweet thing where you've got something that gives you really personable answers to you and knows everything. So do people somehow get smarter because of this or more enlightened, or, what happens there?
What's the movie with Joaquin Phoenix? Her.
Yeah.
It
do you know that isn't she suing?
Yeah, because they
used her voice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Scarlett Johansson, I think.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So like that whole movie came to life.
Yep.
I do believe that what you're starting to see, and with ChatGPT and what's coming out is now, more understanding your voice and the tonality and the personality behind it. I mean, it's scary, but kind of exciting that I still don't believe that we get replaced by AI. I believe that if you use it correctly, it's enhanced. And what you kind of said is, all right, we had encyclopedias. I mean, that took a lot of work. You had to they were expensive.
Yes.
So people with knowledge had money, or they financed those books
Right.
out because the door-to-door salesman came
Yeah,
through.
yeah,
Penn Jillette.
from Friends.
Yeah.
Sells Joey the V for $50.
Yeah.
And then internet came about, right? So I believe that we don't get smarter. I think we get lazier because we just ask it questions, but we ask it questions the way that we want it to interpret it.
Yep.
So I don't know if we become as open-minded, and that, but we have all this knowledge now fast at our fingertips, faster than ever. So the fact is, we should never not know something. And when it comes to building your real estate business or how to do something, and the actionable steps behind it, you could have it built out right here. Why don't you? Right? We've had this for now almost a year.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We've had coaching before that. We've had YouTube before that. So why is it that we're still seeing 49+% of agents only selling 0 to 1 house? And it still comes down to the sales aspect of this. It still comes down to you doing something and taking action. It still comes down to wanting, believing that you're wanting to build in this 100% base commission industry, that it's worth building. So and that's not going to change.
That's not going to change. But just to speak to that statistic, though, I mean, 49% only selling 0 to 1 houses. I think the percentage of agents that were just radically unprepared for this kind of market for this period of time is so much higher. I think like 70% of agents probably were just not prepared to have to go into a market like this for a sustained period of time, where you have to work harder. That's just plain and simple. You have to work harder to generate more opportunity, or the same level of opportunity that you had to do in 2021. So that's already going to be a big percentage of people that just aren't going to do that. And when you work hard for those opportunities, they're a little bit trickier to navigate. The general zeitgeist, or whatever you want to call it, around residential real estate in America right now is not as rosy as it was 3 years ago. And so the conversations are harder. So you have to be a salesperson, and not a salesperson in a sleazy way. You have to be very educated. You have to know the product. You have to understand the value. You have to be able to navigate transactions really, really well. And so it can be really draining for a lot of agents, even when they're putting in the work, because they just haven't, like to your point, they haven't taken the time to get coached up, to be educated, to really be great at what they do. And so they're not even capitalizing on the opportunities they are generating.
One thing that I also think about is that the consumers also have access to all this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they're not using it. And if they are, they're still needing the expertise and guidance.
Yeah.
We're our own worst enemy. It's the same reason why I still hire a personal trainer. Let's be real. I can go build this out. I hired to tell them what, hold me accountable, tell me, put my phone down in between my sets, because I'll get on the phone and start working. And then my 1 minute rest turns into 10-minute rest.
It's sweet though. You can rip out the next set.
Yes. Yeah.
All your muscle fatigue is gone.
Exactly. But it defeats the purpose. And so, the same type of guide, we're not, I always tell my clients, I'm not here to open the door. That's the easiest part of my job.
Right.
The rest of it is to kind of guide you through. I was showing clients earlier today, and one of the conversations I had with them is like, hey, buying a house is easy. You still need to sell it. We need to navigate that. But what is the odds that in the next 5 years, because they're drastically moving up houses, I said, what are the odds in the next 5 years that you get relocated? Because I heard that you were talking about, something were to happen.
Yeah.
The only thing that, that could cause us to move is if something happened with my job. So I started asking that question. He's like, 15 to 20% odds that in the next 5 years something happened my job. So it's low. I was like, well, that's a little bit higher than I would like it.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at new construction, I just want you to be prepared in the next 3 to 5 years. Chances of us, selling this at a break-even point is slim.
Yeah.
I don't know if AI is not going to pick up on that.
It seems that it's a distance away from the nuance of that part of it. Mainly because I think it has so much information and so much data that unless it's currently being prompted by that person about their specific life, it struggles. But again, I wanted to say something about the accountability thing real quick, because I do think you're spot on with that. I used to have a trainer as well. And I had ChatGPT write out all my workouts. The thing that still gets me in the gym, though, is that working out is my wife's love language, right? Like, she enjoys that time together. She enjoys me when I look better. I enjoy her enjoying me when I look better, right? So it's like all of those things are so much better, but I still don't like working out, right? Left to my own devices, I probably wouldn't do it. So there is still that human aspect of accountability. But what ChatGPT has came in and allowed me to do is have some direction in my workouts, have that checklist that Brian was talking about. And that's where, whether it's 5 years or not from now, I mean, let's be honest, most agents aren't in the business in 5 years, so they can't even see that far out.
On a rolling 5 years.
They're like NFL running backs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what they can do over the next couple of years to ensure that they're here for 5 years is use it to make checklists, is use it to make themselves more efficient, is use it to fill the gaps in their knowledge where they may not understand the entire lending process, but you don't want to go ask somebody about it. You surely don't want to look dumb in front of your clients. Start asking AI 5-year-old questions and build your knowledge from there. And that's a way to ensure that you know how to use AI further down the road is by using it now.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. I think that is an opportunity for agents right now. I think to your point, to speak, a little bit ago, two things to your point. One, the type of value that you're talking about there is the type of value that you demonstrate after a client's already made commitment to you. There's a huge constituency of people that there's a reason that like Open Door and those types of companies were successful for a long time, because there is a massive constituency that just prefers convenience.
Sure.
And until you're in it, it's difficult to show that value because it hasn't happened yet. You haven't helped them navigate it yet. They're appreciative when it does happen, but there's a whole lot of clients that would be clients that prefer convenience over everything. And if you can overlay artificial intelligence and give them the convenience and the knowledge base, it becomes a much higher value proposition. And the reason that you say that the people, the general public already has access to these tools and they're not using it that way, that's because it hasn't been put together in a neat platform yet. There's no platform out there. Say I want to sell my home in Texas, right? There's no platform out there right now where I can go pay a company to use their AI and I log in, I have a portal and it helps me do everything, right? It sends a photographer to my house. It tells me how it needs my house to look. It does everything that I need it to do. It's got, everything that happens physically. AI is talking to the vendors. It's lining it all up for me. It's navigating me through the listing agreement. It has literally the entire paragraph by paragraph broken down into English like a 5-year-old could understand. And then it does the same thing for the contract and negotiates the repairs for me, all that type of stuff. And it's just a freaking portal that I log into. If you were to put it together in a platform like that, it would be much more useful.
I think it'd be useful. I just like having him even describe it. I'm like, damn, that's a lot of people getting together to make a lot of things happen still, right? Like,
but here's the thing.
It does that it couldn't. I'm just saying.
No, not that it couldn't. You got to understand, like people, no, like this is the scary part, is that this won't even be built by people.
Yeah.
Oh.
AI is already the leading coding output in globally right now. AI is writing more code than human beings, all of humanity combined right now.
You just built out Tor brokerage.
I'm telling you, bro. Like,
now the question,
we keep thinking about these things in the terms of like, someone's got to put all that together. Like, just Google this in the background. I don't know how to, like, coding of AI versus humans output or whatever. AI is already coding way more than humans are.
well, that, and let's look at it this way, is that, all right, let's look at it from a different angle. Let's say that you could build that out. We're licensed by Trek. Does Trek allow that to happen where AI is giving that guidance that they're technically not a licensed under the Texas Real Estate Commission? They're doing it under a brokerage license.
Yeah.
So
I still think there are brokers and things like that. I think at the end of the day, because here's the thing, at the end of the day, the buck still has to stop with a human somewhere. But just like law firms, there are law firms that are using AI to like litigate their cases now.
Jesse, put output at the end of that and see if it changes.
Yeah, I wanted to see the raw amount of output. I don't care about the quality of AI versus humans because that's quickly changing.
Yeah, that'll change. So when I mean, this is a little bit from a place of ignorance around how some of this stuff works. When we're talking about AI's ability to build out codes and coding and write websites and make people's life more convenient and make apps and all these other things, where does and maybe we can't answer this, where do people lose control? Like at what point is it doing its own thing, right? Like, because this is no longer like, you know, Wilford Brimley being like, just unplug it, right? Like that's not going to happen. So like, you know, I don't understand that part of it. Like,
I don't think that happens all at once, to be honest. I think for different uses, different use cases, it falls unevenly, right?
Yeah.
So one, Lewis is talking about efficiency all the time. You can just understand that AI is already coding more than every human being combined, because AI never stops, and it's infinitely quantitative, meaning I can have it doing almost an infinite number of things at a time. So by sheer rationality, it already has the capability of coding more in a very short period of time than we've coded in all of human history.
Like,
right?
so can the guys at Google, right? Google's one of the leading companies in AI, right? Like they're up there right now, vying with everybody else.
NVIDIA,
not that they
Google.
would, but could Google just shut down their AI and it would cease to exist?
Yeah, they just pull the plug.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Yeah,
that even let me put it this way.
It wouldn't matter because there's 1,000 other people doing it. I was just curious. If it was still...
I mean, maybe the answer for now is yes.
Yeah.
But the way that I want you to imagine anything in the digital landscape, imagine it like plants or anything like that in the physical world, right? Like there is a point of no return.
Yeah.
Meaning, let's just say you were making a garden, okay? And you could always just stop watering things and it will die. There is a point where, unless you are going to actively tear it down, it will start to sustain itself.
Mm-hmm.
It is now its own ecosystem. And without you going through, and then the longer that ecosystem grows, the harder it is
for you to go rip it apart.
To rip it apart.
Yeah.
So maybe now, 5 years from now, probably not a chance. And the more, because you got to think, it's not only just pulling the plug, like everything that we experience as human beings is starting to get interweaved with artificial intelligence, meaning our banking systems, right? Our food service systems, our logistical systems. Like you won't be able to pull the plug in the future, because do you remember like the bottlenecks that happened when we shut the world down for just a little bit during COVID, right? The world will come to a grinding halt if you just pulled the plug on AI, which won't actually be a thing. It won't be like one plug you can pull. There's going to be several different advanced AI systems that are obviously vying from all sorts of different major competitors. There'll probably be conglomeration and monopolizing at some point, but it's going to become such a regular part of your life. You would be so afraid of it going away.
It's also one of those deals too, where it's like I just don't think, like you said, we rely on it so much. People aren't going to want to go back. Like I already kind of enjoy having it, right? It's super, super convenient. And if I'm playing around with ChatGPT, governments and higher entities have stuff that is way better, doing way cooler shit than we get to do.
I heard it was running the presidency.
Probably be doing a better job.
That was an AI debate last night.
There's been a lot. I mean, there are a lot of very smart Silicon Valley people that are saying, like, guys, this is a runaway train. Like, there are very few inventions that come along that fundamentally change human history irrevocably. The internet, nuclear power, nuclear arms for sure, right? Fire, right? Which wasn't an invention, it's a discovery, but you know what I mean? Like our ability to create it.
Yep.
Artificial intelligence is more impactful to humanity than the wheel. It's just the truth. We just don't see it in our everyday lives yet. But just imagine how much, like, your interactions with every website, your interaction with all of it is AI powered. And then we're still at like V1, V1 quarter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just think about how different social media is in our lives than it was 10 years ago.
We haven't even started to hit the hockey stick of
that's what I'm saying. Right. We don't consume anything the same way that we did 10 years ago. And social media existed, but now it's hockey sticking. Like, we don't consume content in anywhere near the same way. We don't interact with human beings the same way. If you go talk to people, I mean, imagine people like the age of Kelderman's kids, right? Like, they don't interact with the other sex as far as building relationships the same way that people did 10 years, even I'm saying 10 years ago, when we were still full grown ass men.
Yep.
Right? Because it's just social media is just now hockey sticking, right? Like, we are just now jumping past the threshold where we interact way more with people we've never met in real life. and it will stay that way for a much longer period of time until you actually do interact with them, than us actually meeting human beings and building communities. And we're never going back.
Yeah.
And AI is an even way more monumental version of the same thing. You know,
it sounds scary. Like,
I don't even
but-
know. I want to preface this. I don't even mean this to say it's scary. Change is always a little scary, but I'm in no way saying life is going to be worse.
So change sounds scary when you hear, and look, I've fallen into this trap too, where it's like, you know, my 17-year-old is going off to college next year, and I'm like, let's make sure to major in some type of business or some type of degree that is going to be around and relevant over the next at least 10 years.
Don't pick writing.
Yeah, don't pick writing. Don't pick, you know, they're even talking about, you know, just a general business degree. Is that necessarily needed? Middle management's talking about getting erased.
Yeah.
So it's like, you got to start, you know, it's either adapt or die. And we start looking at some of these models or like, you know, back, like we're part of this kind of change where like you had the Industrial Revolution on that. And I'm sure I'm sure people thought that was going to be a fad. Right.
Yeah.
The
Well,
internet-
and people are also terrified by it too.
Sure, terrified. Internet came around. That's a fad. That's never going to be integrated into life and make things easier and more efficient. We got this big computer, like this big electronic box.
Right.
It's expensive, and so we get to experience all of this.
Yeah.
And we can look at the dark side of this and say, like, all right, it's going to replace our jobs, and we get really concerned about that.
Sure.
Right? Really defensive. And it's like, all right, how do we use this and make our lives easier?
Sure.
And implement it without maybe losing ourselves the way that, you know, the guy lost himself in Her and had a complete relationship with a fake person.
Yeah. I mean, make no mistake. So I like to present these things as ideas around what the future may look like so that we can adapt and we can be better. And I don't think, you know, when it comes to this podcast, real estate specifically, real estate sales is going to absolutely look different in the future. It just will. Like if anybody's turning a blind eye to that's going to happen. And I don't know that helping buyers and sellers the exact same or even anywhere near the same way that we are right now is going to be the role of the human real estate agent in the future. But that doesn't mean it can't still be incredibly lucrative. And that doesn't mean that you're not still guiding and advising people through one of the most monumental transactions they'll ever have in your life. I don't even know. I don't know what that looks like in the future. We might not even call ourselves real estate agents, but 100% human beings still have an opportunity to help others and to make a lot of money in this business. But if you turn a blind eye to the fact that these things are possible, it's irresponsible, I think, of us to talk about it like those things can't happen.
Yeah.
Right. I fundamentally believe that human beings can be replaced in the transaction as it stands.
Yeah.
I don't believe that they can be replaced in every aspect of real estate. And I don't believe that our value or utility goes away. It just might look different, but that's okay to look different. I think if we're sitting here being like AI is never going to replace people and people will never be comfortable selling a house just using AI, I think you're in for a crazy rude awakening.
It's a misplaced sense of confidence. While we were sitting here, I took a second just to ask it. I said, "Hey, we're talking on the podcast today about AI, and some people think it'll never replace agents, others think it'll help agents better." And it's just talk about efficiency, efficiency boost, enhancing customer experience, emotional and personal connection, negotiating expertise is how it can help. And I just asked it to give me a deeper understanding of how AI can help agents. And I think this is where agents need to really open their mind to it, because I think what's really beautiful about it is it will break things down to help you start seeing maybe what you're not doing in your business that you can strive towards, right? The things that you can start bolting onto your business that would make you more efficient, right? And that's where I think the denial about AI is hurting some agents, because they're not even really using it to cover the gaps they currently have in their business, right? Helping you predict seller intent, helping you analyze the market, helping you do property search and CRM stuff and all these things that you can get a much clearer understanding and then get time back to go do other things inside your business that are going to help you be more efficient. And that's one of the biggest ways agents can use AI today, is just to fill in the gaps they know are in their business and then build it out from there. One of the things that I will hold dear forever is the experience of building Living In With You. Being able to watch it go from nothing and the ideas that we had become something even when we were chomping at the bit to execute on them, right? but then waiting for its due time for us to come into the understanding of how to execute that was something that I would have never found on my own. And if you don't have a partner who you can brainstorm these things with, this is a perfect replacement for you to be able to do that. If you're using it effectively, efficiently, and asking, you don't even have to ask really smart questions. Honestly, you can misspell shit and it will still figure out. It's shockingly good at figuring out what you're trying to do.
Yeah. It's an unbiased partner. Like
Absolutely.
they're not taking the upside. They're not, financially invested, right? So it's an unbiased advice and guide. So I think that, look, if you're not, I believe that everyone should be using it. I believe they should be using the right versions of it that needs to be trained. Mm-hmm. And it's getting smarter that you don't have to understand prompting the way that it was in the very beginning, where you had to ask it very specific style and in a specific way. Now you're able to talk to it. I would definitely, in my opinion, I think OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, that's the best. I think it's even better than Gemini, which is Google based right now. They have the voice version. It's worth the $20 a month.
Yeah.
Yes. You get unlimited. It saves stuff. You're going to want it to save stuff. You talk about the prompts. You can still make it the prompts yourself. Like I went in there and said, hey, I'm a real estate agent. I've been doing it for 12 years. Ask me 15 questions about my business that I can answer to help you help me better. And then it'll ask you questions. Then take the time to answer them. It'll remember it. And then it starts bringing those things in and you can tweak them from there and change stuff. It's a really fun tool to use in your business.
Nice. Let's go down the path really quick because I don't know if we can get to all the other stuff, so we'll have to edit some of the things in here. But I do want to talk about the NAR chief legal officer Katie Johnson stepping down, she had been part of the NAR legal team since 2000.
10 years,
17 years.
Yes,
2017.
2007
years.
So 2007. So bulk of her career. She was in 2023 is when she got promoted to the kind of the head chief legal officer in March of 2023. And to me,
when was the verdict?
It was it was 23, right?
When?
Yeah.
It was later than March.
Okay. Just didn't know if she was already.
Chief. And so, a lot of things, but you got to remember they talk about what she worked on is the sexual harassment and sexual assault lawsuits, plus that. And, on Inman here, they kind of talk about, which I need to read this and understand a little bit more because it talks about what her compensation was. So her compensation in 2014 was $375,185. And she was working an average of 37 and a half hours a week. In 2022, which is the latest year available, she received a little over $1 million a year for working 50 hours a week. In between the 9 years of 2014 and 2022, Johnson pulled in a total of $6.2 million from NAR. I don't know why that's really relevant. I mean, in my opinion, if you're the chief legal officer, you should be making $750 to $1 million and, making sure that
corporate lawyers are pretty high paid.
Yeah. And I think that, you should be, one, protecting really the NAR and the agent, the agent association to make sure that we still have somewhat of a career and an opportunity to thrive in the marketplace. And it used to be because I just had to pay my renewal. Right. And so it goes, my NAR dues. And I looked at it and I'm like, man, I was really questioning it. And and it used to be like, what the local NAR associate would be like, we're going to Congress, we're going to the state government, and we're making sure that we're fighting for the rights of home ownership and homestead and making sure that the tax benefits are still in there. And I'm like, did they fight that hard for that? Is that just kind of...
Yeah, I think a lot of people are asking that same question this time around. A lot has changed since those last renewals. And I don't know. It is one of those difficult things where obviously I think it's undeniable that NAR has done a lot of good stuff over the years. Where we're at right now and the value that they continue to provide in a quickly changing landscape with all the commissions changes, all the industry changes. I think a lot of people are wondering where's the long-term value in NAR, but at the same time, it's like, what is the impact on the industry as a whole if NAR starts really hemorrhaging membership? Is that better or worse for agents as a whole?
It's almost like the thing that made them great is now the thing that's making them stumble. Like the sheer size of NAR was allowed just to walk in the room and be like, hey, here's what we're doing, right? Yeah. Here's how much money we can throw at this. And now that exact same thing seems to be a problem. They can't pivot fast enough on anything to solve a problem before the next problem shows up.
Yep.
They have just done a really poor job of being on top of this. And I don't know the structure of the people who work at NAR. I don't know if they've ever been agents or really I'm sure some of them have, but they don't seem to be able to. It's like when an army gets so huge, it can only march as fast as its slowest soldier. That's NAR right now. There's people at the front, the elite forces, who are trying to push forward and find new ways to do things. And they're I sent you guys an email yesterday. I got an email from an agent that was advertising commission in it. I was confused on whether that was legal or not. Like, it's just, this whole thing is such an S show that it's like, I'm not going to put it on the MLS, and I'm going to try not to just tell everybody, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that is okay. So you just highlighted a good point, right? Like, the chief legal officer is stepping down in a time where so much has swirled around the industry. We're not even highly producing agents aren't even sure what they're allowed to email to one another. So I would have to rate the performance over the last couple of years as less than optimal.
Less than optimal.
That's boss speak for you are not doing your job.
I still don't know the answer to that question of what you said yesterday. I don't know if that was okay.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is. Yeah. And then it just, again, we go back to the thing that we've been saying for months of just how foolish all of this was. But NAR has done a really poor job, I think, of figuring out what to do. Brian asked this great question that I've stolen from of what happens next. NAR doesn't have a freaking clue what happens next. And at the same time, they're not making us feel better. They're not making your dues less, which I wouldn't expect them to do that. But they're really doing nothing to it seems to figure it out. Every time I look up, there's someone else leaving, which to me means another new person in there, which sometimes can be good. But when everybody's new, which it seems to be at NAR, then I don't know how that's great.
When you're under constant battle, though, it's like constant pressure. It's like one thing after another, and you've been working your butt off. Like, I think it comes to a point where, like, all right, I've had enough, and it's time to. I need a mental break, and right now, the fire doesn't seem to be willing to go out.
Yeah.
Like we put water on it and then just pops. It's like one of those candles you blow out and then it just reignites. And look, that probably gets exhausting. And it's interesting with the chief lawsuit, the legal officer. You would think, does she have an opportunity in the private world that's better, especially after you're getting hammered? Maybe with the experience, does she have a better spot in the private world where they take it on and said, all right, you're making $1 million a year. We can triple that.
Is there some other big company out there's looking his ass handed to him in a lawsuit? Because I mean, if so, sounds like NAR's got some.
She definitely didn't go out on top.
And look, maybe that isn't necessarily like when I just hear chief legal analyst, right? I don't know what that job entails. I'm sure it has nothing to do with advising the attorneys who handle this lawsuit. And me as a layperson, when I hear chief legal analyst, I'm kind of thinking your job was to make sure the legal stuff worked out, and it didn't, right? So I don't know.
It definitely seems like that'd be part of the.
It seems like it would be part of the job. I feel like you're responsible for all the people under you.
Yeah, interesting shakeup once again at NAR. The people in charge of the lawsuit specifically.
Do you think we could have AI just go and fight it? It's cheaper.
I mean, it would have lost the same way.
Google this. Like, there are firms that are already using AI.
No, there's one. It's is it one
you know of?
Yeah, but it's one that I believe it's approved. It's out of Canada. What's the name? Einstein? No, it's not. It's.
I don't think it's a real estate law firm.
What?
Just law firm.
I think it's just a law firm. Yeah. Yeah. Early adopters of Gen AI in law. How they're using AI. Anyway.
Apparently you're having pictures made of a dude on
they used an AI picture of some dude on a computer also wearing a George Washington wig.
Yeah, that's insane.
His so wooden teeth are next to him on their table.
That's what it thinks lawyers look like.
With a very defined jawline.
That is hilarious. But yeah, I'm okay. Here we go. Alan, it's a recent merger, historically global, pursuing AI. Okay.
It looked like some UK based company.
Yeah,
Yes,
so-
but they're
No,
yeah.
they are.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
one out of Canada that's really kind of the primary here in the
Canada.
United States, and so, but would we have the same outcome? At least cheaper, so you don't have to pay.
Yeah, at least I could have felt good about the fact that it was like, they beat a robot. It's still early in its existence. We take an L on that one.
I mean, isn't that just a higher form of chess, right? Legal.
Did those guys ever beat the computer? Did Bobby Fischer beat the computer? Did Magnus beat the
Watson,
computer?
isn't it Watson? Watson's like whooping everybody's ass, I think. Still, he's not undefeated.
I must have liked a video because I told you guys a couple of weeks ago I did this Freedom Phone thing, so I deleted all my social media apps off of it, and so I don't get on the TikToks anymore. But somehow my Facebook algorithm got over to like Magnus Carlsen chess videos, and like all I do is watch that guy showing up late, shit on people, and then leave.
Yeah, that's his whole move.
That's his whole bit.
I've been down that rabbit hole before too. Stockfish is considered the world's strongest chess engine. Has won all the main events of the top chess engine.
This is 2020.
So these are robot chess tournaments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
Sounds boring.
So humans are not even close. Oh, that's funny. Humans aren't even close to the best.
Which that makes sense,
Chess
though, right?
players.
Like when you think about all the moves possible and the space on the board, I just don't see how a human brain can stay caught up with all those possibilities.
I guess that's what I'm saying about law, though, as well, is you're essentially playing a game within what is supposed to be a subset of regulations, right? At some point, AI is going to be able to imagine every possible outcome way better than humans can. And it's just going to start firing off emails, and you're going to fold
Just figure out
so quickly. It's like there's 3 ways this goes.
your call expires on a Monday. By Tuesday, you just got 10 do not call lawsuits in your inbox.
That is true. I didn't think. Can you imagine one of the reasons that people don't sue each other over relatively petty stuff is because it's kind of a pain in the butt to go through the process. I wonder only imagine with the integration of AI how the velocity of lawsuits, just the sheer volume of suits that starts to come out, is going to be bananas.
Doesn't that hit a point of diminishing returns right now? Like big companies will
has
just
to.
pay people off just because they're like, I don't want to deal with this. This is cheaper than an attorney. But then you also get to the point where it's like, guys, we just don't have this much money.
We just don't have this much money. And the court system at the end of the day still has to make decisions. And I think at some point it's just like we're so bottlenecked, you just can't sue people.
Yeah, but those
for this
lawsuits,
stuff.
they're a threat of lawsuits. So normally those
Right.
letters that get filed, they're not lawsuits. They're demand letters first,
Right.
and then it's that's kind
Those
of
are
blackmail.
terrifying to regular people, though.
They're blackmail, right?
Those
So
are terrible.
either pay
terrifying,
it,
though. Right.
either pay it, or we're going to take you to lawsuit, and we're going to take everything you own, and
Right.
come in and move into your house, and now you're kind of gone.
I think that'll pick up like crazy. I think you'll see demand letters flying around for everything.
But then
AI can just generate
AI
it.
will fire another demand letter back to them, and then you just have AI.
Now the
going back and
AIs are
forth.
just threatening to sue each other.
Seriously, I don't think we're terribly far off. I legitimately think, because guys, think about this.
Idiocracy seemed ridiculous.
But think about it in other terms. Okay, all you're really doing is exchanging information, right? I'm exchanging an argument with you that I think you owe me something, and then you're exchanging information back that I either agree or I disagree. We thought about this. There was obviously, for a long time, sort of a prevailing narrative on Wall Street that robots can't trade as well as human beings. Human beings don't trade stocks anymore. Jesse, how many trades are made every day on Wall Street? Just do average trades, average total trades in American markets or whatever. It is such an unbelievable number. I can't even. It's well into the, let's say, billions at this point. Average 34. No, so that is
per day.
That's just for the
about
NASDAQ.
34.
That's
that's only the
day.
NASDAQ.
Oh,
That's only the NASDAQ.
On Monday,
Yeah.
34 million
For the NASDAQ.
trades were done.
That's just one market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's not even all of the American markets. That's not even the NASDAQ, the S&P, the Dow, the Russell, and then you've got all of the Asian markets, all of the European. It's billions of trades per day. And you can Google what is the percentage of trades actually made by human beings. It's less than a few percentage points. It is almost all algorithmic trading. Almost all. And isn't that really just robots exchanging information?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I could see. And the reason that volume is so much higher is because robots are doing it.
Yep.
The volume of trades when high frequency, there's a book called Flash Boys by Michael Lewis. You got to read it. It's freaking phenomenal. It's about the advent of high frequency trading. love the opening part of it. Is about a dude that took like an insane risk on building like the first fiber optic line from like New York to Chicago, or Chicago to New York, I think, and how he had to like, you got to make it as perfectly straight as you can because that's what gets the speed the best. And he like paid millions to burrow through mountains and go through. It was incredible. And then he charged a subscription of millions of dollars a month to all these all the brokerages. I'm paraphrasing, but like it's a really, really cool story. But the volume of trading obviously hockey sticked like crazy when you got the technology to go like, we can do how many trades per day? Same thing with the legal side. We're like, we can send a demand letter for anything instantly. I really think you're going to see AI at companies just trying to sue each other all day and see what sticks. I mean, dude, there are literally just patent law firms that all they do is go and basically buy up expired patents and then go sue everybody else that is trying to use that same technology. It's fucking crazy. Can you imagine AI just buying old patents and then just sending out a shitload of lawsuits on a Monday and be like, you can't make crackers that look like that? It's the craziest thing in the world. Guarantee you that stuff's going to happen. Or at least we're going to have to navigate how it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Because left to our own devices, that's 100% the future.
Sounds scary.
Only if we survive World War III.
Not for me.
Yeah.
I tell my ChatGPT thank you, so I'm going to be fine.
I do. Yeah. and it gives you words of affirmation.
It sure does.
Thanks for the candy bar, Matt.
Yep.
Yeah. Look, I will say, like, again, we need to change the title, Jesse, at this so that
I'll probably do that.
Yeah, so we go more on this was technology based and went down actually a good rabbit hole, I believe. But next week, I want to talk about next week. The Iran conflict. Because
we officially changed it to the Iran conflict now, because it is.
Yeah. And I want to talk about the port strike. Because what we think is going on, and we feel we're in a better space because the Fed cut the rate, and we believe the Fed's going to cut the rate again. Now with the port strike, you're going to have goods, you're going to have stuff starting to cost more, which is going to be some type of inflationary, even though it's kind of man-made. And does that actually damper the next Fed meeting cut?
Yeah, you mean, can they not bring rates down anymore because there's artificial inflation because there's the port strike? We're going to know a hell of a lot more by next week, but it's a pretty interesting premise.
Yeah, so I do want to less AI talk next week. Let's talk more about the port strike. Let's talk about what happens, because we saw a little bit with rates kind of increasing. We kind of see it. We saw a little bit of slowdown in the marketplace when Russia invaded Ukraine. So I don't know what ends up happening on this one.
I have no idea, boys. We were talking about this at lunch today. We had a really long conversation, me and Jesse and Duncan at lunch, just around how world wars start and just kind of the geopolitical push and pull that is kind of always keeping our world in some sense of balance. And when you disrupt that balance, it becomes a vortex, right? Like, there's only so many resources to go around. And you have to understand that as a world superpower, we are always someone's target, but we have an extraordinary amount of resources too. But those resources start to get distributed to much wider array of conflicts happening across the world when you have Israel and you have Ukraine and you have China circling Taiwan or whatever. Like, there are moments in time where it becomes more appealing to do something you otherwise wouldn't have done because that country normally has more focus and resources available to directly combat you. And that's how regional conflicts turn into global conflicts. And yesterday was real interesting day.
Yeah, the world's awesome right now.
It's been a fun 4 years.
I know.
Glad we've ended this on a high note.
Yeah. You know who is on a high note? Mortgage Mike.
Hey-o.
Tylenol codeine, baby.
Yeah. He's feeling that allergy medicine right now. Just go to mmgloans.com and let Mortgage Mike take care of all your lending and mortgage needs. He'll give you that Mortgage Mike stamp of approval. MMG Loans, that's Mortgage Mike Group. So mmgloans.com. And then Theron Smith over at Armadillo Home Warranty. Get that hard shell protection on your home. That's what I have on my new house there in McKinney. Does a great job on it. Armadillo.1/TOR, TORE. And again, like I said, Dana Wynn, Homeward Property Management. If you're a real estate agent and you're working with clients that are looking at building up their investment portfolio, maybe they're talking about leasing their house out. Look, I'm going to say the rental market's tough right now. You guys don't need to be doing leases because you don't know how to get those good quality tenants in there.
Yeah.
Get with Dana Wynn, homewardfw.com.
Bro, just turn it over to a property management company. Trust me, you're better off.
Yeah.
I am a happy client myself.
That's where all my stuff is, man. homewardfw.com, Dana Wynn. And then Jesse, Showalter, Tour Studios, maybe.com, maybe.net, maybe
Tour
podcast.
Studios is like a
He should
speakeasy.
just scroll his phone number
Yeah.
on there instead.
Tour Studios is a digital speakeasy. You got to know where to find it.
Yeah.
Just look on anybody's Facebook page and you'll see Brian's lovely background behind you.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Episode 233. I'm not even going to say the title because
Yeah.
it doesn't match the show.
It's in the books. Small Horn Be Proud, 1 hour and 26 seconds.
We made it.
Yes. All right, guys.
All right. Jesse, you ready for something?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Thanks for watching the show today. Make sure if you're watching this on Facebook, you head over to our group, the only real estate group we're being a part of, so you can watch the extended conversation. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you listen on the Apple Podcast, leave us a review. We'd really like it. So just do it. Do it. Do that over there. Go to this one. Then go to that one. Thanks.